Hello, I'm Ted Bradshaw from Barefoot Coaching. I wanted to share with you a little technique that we run through on my Cognitive Behavioural Psychology for Coaches program, which is a continuum. So one of the main focuses of this short course is about how do you work with really rigid patterns of behaviour or beliefs. So for example, people pleasing, always putting everybody else first, perfectionism, always needing to strive, that kind of thing. When that starts to get in somebody's way, often when it's kind of lightly held, you can ask lovely coaching questions and that person can kind of already see that what they're doing might not be helpful for them, or that sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. And with some people, it's really easy to help them question it and to apply new behaviours. But there are some people for whom those beliefs or those patterns have their roots firmly embedded in their history and in their past, and they're so old and automatic that actually you might find yourself struggling to get them to consider or to try something new because it's so hard for them to even consider it. One of the principles we talk about on this course is that trying to change the way somebody thinks can be quite hard when they have had different experiences to you. If it is true that in their family life they had to be the nice one, or they learned that it's really positive to be the nice one, you asking questions about whether or not they still need to do that, it's hard for them to comprehend because their whole life experience has actually told them this is the way that I survive, this is the way that I get through it. So then the question is, what do you do instead? My suggestion, and this comes from a behaviourist perspective, is that sometimes it could be more fruitful to focus on not where has this come from or why do you think this way, but the behaviours that you do, are they still working for you? To what extent do they work? And what would you like to be able to do instead? So to look at the impact of the behavioural choices they make every day. And one technique that we'll go through in more detail is this continuum. One of the reasons that people struggle to break a particular pattern is that the idea of doing something slightly different is actually incomprehensible. So if you're working with somebody who always, let's use this example, always feels like they have to put everybody else first before they can take a break, which is very common to come across, particularly in burnout. You know, imagine what impact that has if you can only take a break when everybody else is sorted out. When's that going to happen? When are you going to take a break? So it absolutely helps you run yourself into the ground. If this is the case, that everybody else always comes first, and I always put other people first, in the continuum technique, what we want to do is kind of identify the behaviour that's seeming problematic to them and push it to two extremes. So if they have a tendency maybe to put other people first before they prioritise themselves, ask them, right, what's the extreme end of that? So this person at this end of the scale is somebody that always puts everybody else first, never considers being able to put themselves first. It's just not going to happen. And then we want to look at the opposite extreme. And the opposite extreme, for me, here, is somebody who always puts themselves first, no matter what the situation. Then what we'll do is we'll ask about pros and cons of these people. And what's really lovely about this is that there's pros and cons for both. There's good things about being this person and there's bad things about being this person. The same applies over here. Often when we're kind of asking somebody to reduce a particular behaviour, what it feels like we're asking them to do is jump right over here. It feels like you're asking me to not care about other people. Actually laying it out like this can be helpful for somebody to see, oh, so it's possible for me to maybe move a bit this way without needing to be this person. So it starts to build a little bit of flexibility. The final thing we do is we start identifying, where would you like to be? What feels like a reasonable balance? What would be a good balance between these two things? And importantly, instead of pros and cons of being in the middle, we talk about what would this person do? So somebody who has a good balance in the middle, what are their behaviours? What do they do? It'll be stuff like prioritising. It will be prioritising certain people over others, certain tasks over others, being able to say no, things like that. And what you end up with, because you've done that, is a little bit of a map. So this is what we want to practice. How can we practice that a little bit this week? Not how do you start becoming this person immediately, but how can you do a tiny bit of that this week? And that's one of the things that we go over in this particular course. Hope that's helpful.